So this is our third video on local SEO, and it's going to focus on citations. So as we mentioned earlier, citations are just a listing of your business information, and one of the words they use, or a term, is NAP, N-A-P. So that stands for name, address, phone number. Okay, that's what a citation needs to include, is your name, your business address, and a business phone number. That's the minimum. Often they'll want an email, a contact email in addition to that, but typically when someone says NAP, it's just the name, address, and phone number. Okay, that is what it takes to create a citation. One key thing that you have to get right is you have to use the same NAP everywhere. The name's got to be identical to the comma, if you have a comma in it, or apostrophe, or anything. If it's N spelled out versus the or and spelled out, or the and symbol, it has to be the same. Your address has to be the same. The phone number, if you use parentheses around the first three letters, use parentheses around the first three letters with the space, and next three letters dash the last four letters. Whatever you do, copy it and use it the same everywhere, no exceptions. And the reason is if you deviate, especially with Google will read it as a separate business. Okay, there's ways to test this, and you can actually run Citation Checkers. I'll add that as a list of tools that will tell you, what citations are, you can actually type in a business's name and zip code, and I've had clients where they'll have 4 or 5 different name, address, phone number combinations. Well, to Google, each of those is an independent, separate entity, a different business. So it really screws with things. Okay, so make sure when you're doing citations, always use the same information, identically typed. Even the capitals, I just make everything perfectly identical so that there is no errors in that could even possibly happen. Okay, so again, going back to, we talked earlier about the map pack. Okay, citations, what the citations does is it helps boost this. It's not the sole thing, but it's one of the major elements that will boost you in the map pack is citations. Obviously you want to tie it to your website and directions with your address, and a lot of times a phone number will you can get those to appear, especially on a mobile phone. So in addition to this, one of the biggest places you want to set a citation up is Google My Business, which they're always changing their name. I don't know if it's even called that anymore. They might be Google for Work, or they're always changing it. But you want to create a citation with Google, and just set it up and create a Google My Business listing is typically what it's called, currently at least. And when you do that, it'll ask for a lot of other information that you can put in there. A description, add a good description, and take your time, make sure the information's accurate. If you can add photos, add photos. Add as many photos as it'll let you. If it'll let you put, team photos, come up with some team photos, even if they're just icons, or some emojis, or some animation kind of drawings, or whatever. Use the opportunity to add as much content as you can to that Google My Business listing. It will pay off in the long run. Okay, obviously don't use copyrighted photos. That's obviously a bad thing. Try to use your own unique imagery. But yeah, so go get that one set up. If we can maybe do that as under the tools video, maybe show you a little bit more if you haven't got that set up already. And if you have got it set up, what I do is, when we're creating new ones, is I create that first, and make sure to verify it, by the way. Send the verification code, get the verification code. But set that one up first, and then base everything off that. So any other citation, whatever you put into Google, and you use that identical address, name, and phone number. Okay, so that's just some helpful tips there. So now going into the citations themselves, you have two kind of main categories of citations. You have what you call the generic citation, and then you have industry specific citations. Okay. A generic would be Yellow Pages. Yelp can actually be a citation, even though it's a review site. Just anything that's just a generic, here I am, here's a business listing, Yellow Pages. Any of those are just a generic. Anybody can get them. It's just a very, very generic listing of your business. Okay. Those are obviously good. Go get them. They're typically always free, or at least the majority of them are. Get out there, get them done. And they're easy to set up. You can go set them up yourselves. A lot of times you can outsource them, or there's some tools that will help automate it, but they're a little bit more expensive, and sometimes they could take longer to populate versus you just going out there and manually doing it. I create a spreadsheet, and when we manually create them, you just type in your whatever credentials you use to log in, because a lot of them require you to create a login. So if you ever have to get in there and change it again, you know what your login is. Say your business moves, you need to update the address. Okay, you got to go through and redo all the citations. That's the downside. So make sure, that's why I said make sure everything's right, so you don't have to go back and fix it. If you're an existing business, we'll show you some tools that you can use to search and find out what citations are existing. And if they're wrong or they're not all consistent, you want to go in there and update them. Sometimes you just have to send them an email, say, hey, this is wrong, can you update it to this? Or you have to claim your listing and say, this is my business, and then prove that it's your business, and then they'll allow you to edit it. There's a variety of different ways. And so that's kind of your basic generic. And then your industry specific. The more of these you can get, the better. They're a little bit more value, not just from the SEO standpoint, but if it's a really good industry specific listing, there's some reputation that goes with that. If you're wedding industry is a really easy one, because there's tons of directories out there for, your cake makers, your photographers, your dresses, whatever. There's tons of companies that have these portfolios of businesses that they recommend. Okay, try to get on those. Some of those can be harder to get into, and you might have to create a relationship to get into those really, really specific ones, but they can serve as backlinks, which we'll talk about in another video, and they can serve as a citation. Okay, and there are some just basic, some of them might charge you $50 or $60 to put your business in there as a listing. But when people are out searching for your product, a lot of times they'll review listing services and find businesses from those listing services. And so it's just another way that people can maybe feed to you and your business, even if it isn't an organic per se direct to your own website. And that's why the industry specific, it kind of serves two, sometimes threefold, from direct traffic, citations, and possible backlinks. So that's about it for citations. They're pretty easy, pretty basic. Again, they're not difficult. The big thing is just make sure you keep everything consistent, and that again will help you boost your listings in the map pack, because you go to more places. There's going to be tons of businesses. Well, you want to be in the top 3. If you can make it in the top 3, because that's what's going to show up on the normal homepage. So citations is one of the biggest ways, and you might only have to do 50 of them depending on how competitive your market is. You might need to do 500 of them. Just keep doing them and adding and adding and adding and adding until you start seeing, some movement in your map pack.